Hi there, I'm Nathan Agan. Welcome back to the Working Actors Journey Rehearsal Room. As you've been following along, or if you've been following along, we've been working on the role of Beatrice from Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing this month. If you're watching this and you have questions, put them below. We'd love to try to respond to any questions that come up for you about this play or this role. If you enjoy what you're seeing, hit that like button. I wanted to make a note that tonight may be the final session of this workshop, but what you're going to see tonight is not meant to be a final performance. It's rather just a continuation of the work in progress. This is just the next step. These are open rehearsals, and this is just the next part of that rehearsal. I will also mention coming up next month for August, we will be doing weekly sessions of a scene from Shakespeare's Measure for Measure with director Stefan Novinsky. And we will continue posting the weekly sessions on YouTube for free for all to enjoy. So be sure to subscribe to our channel, click for notifications. You can also listen to these sessions on our podcast. Subscribe there so you don't miss anything. And you can support the project via Patreon and get early access to all the sessions, plus some other perks there, starting at just $5 per month. And I'll quickly say thank you to some of our patrons, Joan, Michele, Christion, Jim, Magdalen, Ivar, Claudia, Clif, and Jeff. I think that is it. I'll ask the group to very quickly introduce yourselves and what you're doing tonight. Your role in this. We have a couple actors, actually 3 actors, playing Beatrice. So I think the roles are pretty clear. But actually, and I say that, you'll see them all playing different roles as we go along. So there's a lot going on tonight. But yeah, if everybody can just kind of quickly introduce their part in this group, that'd be great. And we'll do a little Q&A afterward, once you guys kind of wrap up the work you want to do tonight. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Erika, our director, and let you kind of take it from there. I'll be back at the end.
Thanks, Nathan. Hiya, everybody. I am Erika Rolfsrud, and I have been the director during this session. I think before I get into anything, let's everybody do a really quick introduction. And I'm going to challenge you, Kat, to give us as much of a Cliff Notes version of this play for those who haven't been in the rehearsals so far, just to give them a little background as to what the scenes are, what's happening beforehand.
Great. So you'd like an introduction to the whole play, so I don't have to keep interrupting the scenes, is that? Or what do you like? Or a little bit before every scene? What's your preference?
Actually, I'm changing my mind. How about a little bit before every scene? You set up every scene, and then we'll go back, make adjustments, and then go forward.
Great. So my name is Cathleen Sheehan. I'm a dramaturg, and some of you may not know what that means. So it means I do a little bit of research. I look into text and like the history of language, and sometimes the history of the plays, and anything that I feel like gives the actors and the director some options, things to consider and weigh as they're making their choices around a character. So I always say I'm just sort of the nerd in the rehearsal room, and I absolutely love it. I love working with Shakespeare. I've taught Shakespeare for a long time and done dramaturgy with Shakespeare for a long time. Start at the beginning now?
Actually, let's meet our 2 other actors. Great. And then I'll say a little something.
Sounds good.
So Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm an actor. I'm gonna be playing Messenger and Benedick and Beatrice in, I believe, that order. Let's see, what else am I saying? I played Beatrice last summer. So it was a great opportunity in a beautiful place. And it's been really great to revisit and dig into a lot more of the nitty-gritties, including a lot of the stuff that they often cut, because it's weird and confusing, and now I get to spend time with it. Great.
There we go. Juls.
Hi, I'm Juls Hoover. I will be playing Benedick, Leonardo, and Hero, and then Beatrice, and then Benedick again, I believe. I have had so much fun throughout this process. I have not actually played Beatrice in full on stage, but I have done many of the scenes and played many of the characters throughout my career. And I was just saying, I think that it's such a wonderful opportunity here to actually be able to deep dive, especially with such an immensely talented company. Like, just to have, yeah, this has been such a privilege and honor.
Oh, thanks, Jules. I say ditto to all of that myself. Okay, so just quick for those of you who have been with us from the first week. Anu is actually not well. She's fine, but she's not up for doing this tonight. So I am going to step in and do the first scene as Beatrice. I have played Beatrice twice before, and she's like a comfy sweater. You just keep putting back on. And I will say that these ladies have just been busting it this whole month. We've been having such a great time. And I will say, Kat, you're like the Beatrice dramaturg. You're very, very smart. And I love your jokes about teaching it. It makes me think, wouldn't it be interesting to play Beatrice as sort of a book form at the beginning that just sort of like, it would be a very different take. So don't anybody steal that. Okay, so very, very first scene at the top of the play. Kat, you want to give us just a little bit of a running start?
Absolutely. So you'll, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the play, you'll right away hear that we're in Messina, we're in Italy, and we are expecting soldiers to come back from war. It has not been, luckily, a terribly traumatic war. So there's a lot of heightened expectation. And we hear two names to pay attention to, I think, are Claudio and especially Benedick. So there's a young soldier, Claudio, who we'll hear about. And then we'll hear about Benedick. And we hear about Benedick initially from Beatrice. So the person to kind of keep an eye on is like, what's going on with Beatrice? Why is she asking about Benedick? What's that all about? So very clearly in the story, we get a sense of two potential pairings in a way. We have Claudio and Hero, young people who seem very attracted to each other, and Benedick and Beatrice, who very, very often, very vocally talk about how they do not want to get married, but they spend an awful lot of time talking about and to each other.
They have a history.
And they have a history that Beatrice will hint at. One little fun fact, if I may, is also one of the things that's interesting about this play is it's been pretty consistently in production from the time it was written, which is not always true of Shakespeare's plays. Sometimes they kind of fall out of favor. And especially the characters of Benedick and Beatrice have been like really consistently a draw to famous actors through the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, 20th century, and now the 21st.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in rom-coms all the time. That couple that just nitpick at each other, but you know that underneath something is a fire, you know? He nailed it with this one. Okay, so shall we? Let's give this one a shot. Okay. So I'm taking it just from who am I asking? I'm directing. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah. Would you like me to take it from A Kind Overflow?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
A kind overflow of kindness. There are no faces truer than those that are so washed. How much better is it to weep at joy than to joy at weeping?
I pray you, is Senior Mountantu returned from the wars or no?
I know none of that name, lady. There was none such in the army of any sort.
What is he that you ask for, niece? My cousin means Senior Benedick of Padua.
Oh, he's returned, and as pleasant as ever he was.
He set up his bills here in Messina and challenged Cupid at the flight, and my uncle's fool, reading the challenge, subscribed for Cupid and challenged him at the bird bolt. I pray you, how many hath he killed and eaten in these wars? But how many hath he killed? For indeed I promised to eat all of his killing.
Faith, niece, you tax Senior Benedick too much, but he'll be meet with you, I doubt it not.
He hath done good service, lady, in these wars.
You had musty victual, and he hath holp to eat it. He is a very valiant trencherman. He hath an excellent stomach.
And a good soldier too, lady.
A good soldier to a lady, but what is he to a lord?
A lord to a lord, a man to a man, stuffed with all honorable virtues.
It is so indeed. He is no less than a stuffed man, but for the stuffing, well, we are all mortal.
You must not, sir, mistake my niece. There is a kind of merry war betwixt Signor Benedick and her. They never meet, but there's a skirmish of wit between them.
Alas, he gets nothing by that. In our last conflict, 4 of his 5 wits went halting off, and now is the whole man governed with 1, so that if he have wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for a difference between himself and his horse, for it is all the wealth that he hath left to be known a reasonable creature. Who is his companion now? He hath every month a new sworn brother.
Is it possible?
Very easily possible. He wears his faith, but as the fashion of his hat, it ever changes with the next block.
I see, lady. The gentleman is not in your books.
No. And he were, I would burn my study. But I pray you, who is his companion? Is there no young squarer now that will make a voyage with him to the devil?
He is most in the company of the right noble Claudio.
Oh, Lord, it will hang upon him like a disease. He is sooner caught than the pestilence, and the taker runs presently mad. God help the noble Claudio. If he have caught the Benedick, it will cost him £1,000 ere he be cured.
I will hold friends with you, lady.
Do, good friend.
You will never run mad, niece.
Nope, not till a hot January.
Don Pedro is approached.
So everybody enters. Brief greetings to everyone. And then be it Benedick.
If Signor Leonardo be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedick. Nobody marks you.
What? My dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die when she hath such meat food to feed it as Signor Benedick? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat? But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted. And I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
Dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God and my cold blood I am of your humor for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse, and 'twere such a face as yours.
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
Bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
I would my horse had the speed of your tongue, and so good a continuer. But keep your way in God's name. I have done.
You always end with a jade's trick. I know you of old. All right, that's scene 1. Uno. And now, we're going to go to 2-1. And so, Kat, if you could like fill us in with a little bit of now.
Yeah, happy to. So I think that there's sort of 3 things maybe that are helpful here. So one is we're in a really celebratory mood. There's been a big meal. Now we're going to have a dance. And just to make it more fun, we're going to wear masks. This will be important later because there's sort of this teasing about who knows who's, do you know who you're talking to, especially with Benedick and Beatrice. So people are generally in a very good mood. Claudio has also expressed romantic interest in Hero. He seems to have a little bit of a hard time talking to her, so he's enlisted the help, or his friend Don Pedro has volunteered to get involved and help kind of arrange an engagement. Possibly a questionable choice. It doesn't work out very well. So all that's happening. And then we get this other person who's helpful to know about, who's Don John, because, the course of true love never did run smooth, as the bard tells us. So Don John is very determined to basically ruin anybody else's happiness.
Yeah, because he
Manipulate
backed the
words,
war
wants to screw
against
things up.
Don
Yeah.
Pedro, his
Yes.
older brother, and his brother has forgiven him
So
betraying.
they're sort of reconciled, but it's very new, right? He's been sort of accepted because of that. He's also an illegitimate brother, and it's a whole thing in Shakespeare. But
The whole
he's
Edgar Edward thing. We don't know.
whole thing.
Whole
And he just
thing.
says, I'm not trustworthy. People don't treat me like I'm trustworthy, so why should I be trustworthy? If I can mess up anybody else's joy, good on me.
He's awesome.
This will be important later.
Well, so, okay. Is everybody ready?
Ready.
I will be playing multiple roles. We have Beatrice doing Juls, Benedick, Shannon. I'll be playing everybody else. Here we go. Was not Count John here at supper? I saw him not.
How tartly that gentleman looks. I never can see him, but I am heartburned an hour after.
He is of a very melancholy disposition.
You were an excellent man that were made just in the midway between him and Benedick. The one is too like an image and says nothing, and the other too like my lady's eldest son, ever more tattling.
Then half Signor Benedick's tongue in Count John's mouth, and half Count John's melancholy in Signor Benedick's face.
With a good leg and a good foot, uncle, and money enough in his purse, such a man would win any woman in the world if he could get her goodwill.
My troth, niece, thou wilt never get thee a husband if thou be so shrewd of thy tongue. In faith, she's too cursed.
Too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God sending that way, for it is said God sends a cursed cow short horns, but to a cow too cursed, he sends none.
So, by being too cursed, God will send you no horns.
Just. If he send me no husband, for the which blessing I am at him upon my knees every morning and evening, Lord, I could not endure a husband with a beard on his face. I had rather lie in the woolen.
You may light on a husband that hath no beard.
What would I do with him? Dress him in my apparel and make him my waiting gentlewoman? He that hath a beard is more than a youth, and he that hath no beard is less than a man, and he that is more than a youth is not for me, and he that is less than a man, I am not for him. Therefore, I will even take 6 pence in earnest of the bear herd and lead his apes into hell.
Well, then go you into hell?
No, but to the gate. And there will the devil meet me like an old cuckold with horns on his head and say, get you to heaven, Beatrice, get you to heaven. Here's no place for you maids. So deliver I up my apes and away to St. Peter for the heavens. He shows me where the bachelors sit, and there live we as merry as the day is long.
Well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father.
Yes, faith. It is my cousin's duty to make curtsy and say, Father, as it please you. But yet, for all that, cousin, let him be a handsome fellow, or else make another curtsy and say, Father, as it please me.
Well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband.
Not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve a woman to be overmastered with a piece of valiant dust? To make an account of her life to a clod of wayward marl? No, uncle, I'll none. Adam's sons are my brethren, and truly I hold it a sin to match in my kindred.
Daughter, remember what I told you. If the prince do solicit you in that kind, you know your answer.
The fault will be in the music, cousin, if you be not wooed in good time. If the prince be too important, tell him there is a measure in everything, and so dance out the answer. For hear me, hero. Wooing, wedding, and repenting is as a Scotch jig, a measure and a syncopace. The first suit is hot and hasty like a Scotch jig, and full as fantastical. The wedding, mannerly, modest as a measure, full of state and ancientry, And then comes repentance, and with his bad legs falls into the syncopace faster and faster till he sink into his grave.
Cousin, you apprehend passing shrewdly.
I have a good eye, uncle. I can see a church by daylight.
Ah, the revelers are entering, brother. Make good room. And so we have a couple of different couple exchanges, keeping in mind that the men are masked and the women are not. So the Prince Don Pedro and Hero have an exchange. And then Benedick and Margaret, one of the upper house students, servants, have an exchange. Then Balthasar and Margaret, Ursula and Antonio, who is Leonato's older brother. And then we get back to Benedick and Beatrice.
Will you not tell me who told you so?
No, you shall pardon me.
Nor will you not tell me who you are?
Not now.
That I was disdainful and that I had my good wit out of the 100 merry tales? Well, this was Signor Benedick that said so.
What's he?
I am sure you know him well enough.
Not I, believe me.
Did he ever make you laugh?
I pray you, what is he?
Why, he is the prince's jester, a very dull fool. Only his gift is in devising impossible slanders. None but libertines delight in him, and the commendation is not in his wit, but in his villainy. For he both pleases men and angers them, and then they laugh at him and beat him. I am sure he is in the fleet. I would he had boarded me.
When I know the gentleman, I'll tell him what you say.
Do. He'll but break a comparison or two on me, which peradventure, not marked or not laughed at, strikes him into melancholy, and then there's a partridge wing saved, for the fool will eat no supper that night. Music for the dance. We must follow the leaders.
In every good thing.
Nay, if they lead to any ill, I will leave them at the next turning.
So now we're jumping around, ladies and gentlemen. So now we find out, things get ironed out. We find out that Don Pedro wasn't actually asking for Claudio's hand in marriage, or Claudio, Hero's hand in marriage. And everybody's happy and the engagement happens. And then I'm gonna let you do your job and I'll stop talking. And you can build
Everybody's happy, but Don John. So, and I'm setting us all the way up for 4-1. Is that right?
That's correct.
Right. So, Hero and Claudio get engaged. Okay. The two things that are important that happen before 4-1. Again, people are getting sort of caught up in the spirit of romance, and there's this engagement, and isn't this great? And I believe it's Don Pedro who suggests that actually Benedick and Beatrice would make a really great couple. So the men and women collectively decide to kind of dupe each person to reveal their true feelings, right? They feel like every time they're together, they just talk, this witty exchange, this I don't want to get married, but they're always talking about or to the other person. So the guys go first and they put themselves where Benedick will be, and Benedick hides. And so they're sure that they're overheard, and they say, is it true that Beatrice so completely loves Benedick? And that's kind of all he needs. He's actually having a monologue before that scene, musing about love and can it transform me? I'm not sure it can, but he's immediately transformed. He's like, wow, I didn't think I'd get married, but now I'm really into it. Right? So he decides he completely loves Beatrice and scampers away. And then the women do the same for Beatrice, right? And suggest that Benedick is in love with Beatrice. And she has a similar moment of revelation, like, wow, really? He loves me? Okay, well, love on, I will requite it, right? So they have now been sort of tricked into revealing their true feelings, I would say. So that's all looking great. Comedy is going really well. What could possibly go wrong? But again, Don John, who doesn't want anybody happy, decides that he can ruin this engagement between Claudio and Hero. And he has a couple lackeys who help him orchestrate this. But the idea is that he tells Claudio and Don Pedro that Hero is disloyal, that she's cheating on Claudio. And then his lackey and a woman of easy virtue who get together regularly, right, play out a romantic scene. He audibly calls her Hero. Apparently she looks like Hero from the back. So it's this visual trick, right, to make Claudio and Pedro feel certain that they've seen Hero cheating on Claudio. And then what they decide to do is publicly shame Hero. So everybody shows up for the wedding. And instead of marrying her, they kind of set this scene so that Claudio will reveal that Hero has been disloyal, right? And then publicly shames her as a loose woman. And the men sort of join on board, including Hero's father, which is upsetting. But Benedick doesn't, interestingly, kind of takes a step back. And then Beatrice is very upset. They come up with a plot to rectify the situation. I don't know if we need to get into that, but should I mention that, or is it now it's getting long?
Just the friar.
Yeah,
role.
so the gist of it is the friars are interesting in Shakespeare. They're usually somewhere kind of in between earthly life and spiritual life, and they try to solve problems in communities, not always well. But he comes up with this plan, which is that we'll say Hero is dead, and then surely Claudia will feel bad, and then we'll
she will have died of a mourning upsettedness of this accusation, I think it is.
Yeah, like they somehow killed her, and then they'll somehow rectify her. I mean, basically says we'll either clear her name, in which case she'll be marriageable again, or we won't, and if we don't, she can become a nun. Those are sort of the options. So we have this, this kind of metaphorical death, right? She will die as the slandered woman and somehow be reborn. And then the scene we're about to see is Benedick stumbling upon Beatrice, who is weeping after the public shaming.
Yeah, everybody has left the church except for Beatrice and Benedick. Kat, let's you and I jump off video for this one. It's just the two of them. Ladies, have at it.
Lady Beatrice, have you wept all this while?
Yay! And I will weep a while longer.
I will not desire that.
You have no reason. I do it freely.
Surely I do believe your fair cousin is wronged.
Ah! How much might the man deserve of me that would right her?
Is there any way to show such friendship?
A very even way, but no such friend.
May a man do it?
It is a man's office, but not yours.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. Is not that strange?
As strange as the thing I know not, it were as possible for me to say I loved nothing so well as you. But believe me not, and yet I lie not. I confess nothing, nor I deny nothing. I am sorry for my cousin.
By my sword, Beatrice, thou lovest me.
Do not swear and eat it.
I will swear by it that you love me, and I will make him eat it that says I love you not.
Will you not eat your word?
With no such sauce that can be devised to it, I protest I love thee.
Then, God forgive me.
What offense, sweet Beatrice?
You have stayed me in a happy hour. I was about to protest I loved you.
And do it with all thy heart.
I love you with so much of my heart that none is left to protest.
Come, bid me do anything for thee.
Kill Claudio.
Not for the wide world.
You kill me to deny it. Farewell.
Tarry, sweet Beatrice.
I am gone, though I am here. There is no love in you. Nay, I pray you let me go.
Beatrice,
In faith, I will go.
we'll be friends first.
You dare easier be friends with me than fight with mine enemy.
Is Claudio thine enemy?
Is he not approved in the height a villain that hath slandered, scorned, dishonored my kinswoman? Oh, that I were a man! What? Bear her in hand until they come to take hands, and then with public accusation, uncovered slander, unmitigated rancor. Oh God, that I were a man! I would eat his heart in the marketplace.
Hear me, sweet Beatrice.
Talk with a man out at a window.
Nay,
A
but
proper
Beatrice.
saying. Sweet hero, she is wronged. She is slandered. She is undone.
Beatrice.
Princes and counties, surely a princely testimony, a goodly count, confect, a sweet gallant, surely, oh, that I were a man for his sake, or that I had any friend would be a man for my sake. But manhood is melted into curtsies, valor into compliment, and men are only turned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules, that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing, therefore I will die a woman with grieving.
Harry, good Beatrice, by this hand I love thee.
Use it for my love some other way than swearing by it.
Think you in your soul that Count Claudio hath wronged Hero?
Yea, as sure as I have a thought or a soul.
Enough. I am engaged. I will challenge him. I will kiss your hand, and so I leave you. By this hand, Claudio shall render me a dear account. As you hear of me, so think of me. Go comfort your cousin. I must say she is dead, and so farewell.
Brava. Really, really nice work on both scenes. Fabulous. I can totally see our progressing from the first week to now. Really nice work, ladies. Just wow. So for the audience's understanding, at this point, I think we'd sort of be looking into the beginning of the third week of rehearsals. That's sort of the idea. Where at this point you're making choices and you're committing to the choices. You're getting off book. You're really owning the words. That's where we are in the process of rehearsing, I would say. We're just starting that week. Just so they know, just keeping it in context of why we're here. That was beautiful, ladies, both of you. I'd pay good money to come see both of you. I don't know who that was, but voices just come out of me. Trust me. My friend Caitlin would
Enjoy
go,
them.
oh my God, she'd go, all right, who am I talking to now?
You
Who's
know
it?
someone was born to perform when you just live your life with a lot of. Sometimes I have to remind myself if I have an audition for like a normal person that they don't like do voices all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, one of these days when people say, because for the audience is edification, that's the word I was looking for before. It's one of those things where when you meet somebody, especially if they're a civilian, and you tell them what you do, they go, oh, I knew it. Yeah. So one of these days in my more playful moods, I'm going to say I'm a brain surgeon.
Ooh.
Just to see what, if they go, I knew it. They probably wondering like, oh, I'm gonna leave. But anyway, I digress. So we have a bunch of time to play with. So y'all want to play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. How comfortable would you be reading wise if well, first I'll just give you adjustments and we'll redo both those scenes.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so 2-1. Lovely. Lots of words. I would say I want you to play with Juls. Give yourself another couple glasses of wine in. Just be in that rosy, happy, drunk place. Well, there you go. Be in that rosy.
It's beet juice. It's Beatrice juice.
Woo! We're going thematic.
We
Ooh,
found that. That's good.
thematic fruit. Well, it's beet juice, vegetable. Or is it one of those weird ones that's both?
This Working Actors Journey podcast is brought to you by Prest.
Wish. Really wish. Pressed? Anybody know Pressed? So yeah, I want you to and let's play with the rhythm a little bit. I think as we're all in this joyous fun place and Leonardo is playing along and he's feeding you some cues to go, that kind of a thing, I think she starts to go overboard. The wine is kicking into that brave, non-edited place.
Okay.
And so there's a little aggression to it.
Yeah.
And I want you to punch a little bit higher. Just a little bit higher and bigger. Like, I'm going to jump right on there. And then you went, because really at one point, well, he's feeding her, but it would be interesting because at a certain point, I mean, it sounds like Leonardo is, like, well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband.
Mm.
And that's him. All right. And you're on a roll. So you're going to take the room. And I think you should go. Because then Leonardo, his next line is to talking to Hero.
Right.
He's not going to feed Beatrice anymore, but she's still going.
Right.
He does the ultimate thing, which is she then speaks to Hero to top his advice, to really give it to him. You know what? I'm going to take care of you. And here's what. So give it a little more edge towards the end. And I just it's that happy drunk at the beginning, that happy place that we've had a good, dinner, and maybe you had a little dessert wine and that hasn't quite kicked in. That's going to kick in and start getting to that place, a little bit of edge, right before, I think the speech of, no, but to the gate, and there will I be. And then that's when he's going to be like, oh, no, not him. Sorry. That's when Antonio steps in and says, well, niece, I hope you will be. And then Leonardo at the end of the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's at the end of Father, as it please me.
Yeah.
And that's where I think there's a little
bite.
A little bit of bite.
Yeah.
So the fun
and it's bear herd, correct?
Bear herd? Yeah.
Bear, is it bear
herd or ward? It's both bear herd and bear ward. You can say either one, whichever one you like.
Which one's less of a mouthful?
Bird.
All right.
Bird. And lead him in.
Third one where you just don't, it's silent.
Yeah.
Whichever letter it is, it's silent.
Yeah. Birds.
So bubbly at the beginning. And
drops down.
And then it drops in a little bit more. Yeah. Not to, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. And actually, Shannon, just for this part of the scene, would you read the one line of Hero?
Sure.
Great. Right at the top. Okay. Is everybody ready? I want you to just go for it, Juls. Just dive into it. Maybe even find yourself going a little too fast or whatever, because she's just clicking. She's like a hot comic on stage. So All right, here we go. Was not Count John here at supper? I saw him not.
How tartly that gentleman looks. I never can see him, but I am heartburned an hour after.
He is of a very melancholy disposition.
He were an excellent man that were made just in the midway between him and Benedick. The one is too like an image and says nothing, and the other too like my lady's eldest son, evermore tattling.
Then half Signor Benedick's tongue in Count John's mouth, and half Count John's melancholy in Signor Benedick's face.
With a good leg and a good foot, uncle, and money enough in his purse, such a man would win any woman in the world if he could get her goodwill.
Ah, my troth, niece, thou wilt never get thee a husband if thou be so shrewd of thy tongue. In faith, she's too cursed.
Too cursed is more than cursed. I shall lessen God's sending that way, for it is said God sends a cursed cow short horns, but to a cow too cursed, he sends none.
So by being too cursed, God will send you no horns.
Just. If he send me no husband, for the which blessing I am at him upon my knees every morning, Lord. Ha ha! I could not endure a husband with a beard on his face. I had rather lie in the woolen.
You may lie down a husband that hath no beard.
What will I do with him? Dress him in my apparel and make him my waiting gentlewoman? Ha ha! No, he that hath a beard is more than a youth, and he that hath no beard is less than a man, and he that is more than a youth is not for me, and he that is less than a man, I am not for him. Therefore, I will even take sixpence in earnest of a beard and lead his apes into hell.
Well, then go you into hell.
No, but to the gate. And there will the devil meet me like an old cuckold with horns on his head and say, get you to heaven, Beatrice, get you to heaven. There's no place for you maids. So deliver I up my apes and away to St. Peter for the heavens. He shows me where the bachelors sit, and there live we merry as the day is long.
Well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father.
Yes, faith, it is my cousin's duty to make her curtsy and say, Father, as it please you. But yet, for all that, cousin, let him be a handsome fellow, or else make another curtsy and say, Father, as it please me.
Well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband.
Not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve a woman to be overmastered with a piece of valiant dust, to make account of her life to a clod of wayward marl? No, uncle, I'll none. Adam's sons are my brethren, and truly I hold it a sin to make match in my kindred.
Daughter, remember what I told you. If the prince do solicit you in that kind, you know your answer.
The fault will be in the music, cousin, if you be not wooed in good time. If the prince be too important, tell him there is measure in everything, and so dance out the answer. For hear me, hero, wooing, wedding, and repenting is as a Scotch jig, a measure, and a syncopace. The first suit is hot and hasty like a Scotch jig, and full as fantastical. The wedding, mannerly, modest as measure, full of state and ancientry. And then comes repentance, and with his bad legs falls into syncopace faster and faster till he sink into his grave.
Cousin, you apprehend passing shrewdly.
I have a good eye, uncle. I can see a church by daylight.
The revelers are entering. Brother, make good room. Nicely done. Really nicely done. I'm going to make you go back just towards the end.
Yeah.
Because also what strikes me is Leonardo, when I've seen it done, I don't know if this was the case for you, Shannon, but Leonardo is kind of addressing his daughter, making sure that it's him and her. But Beatrice isn't part of this. And Beatrice hears it.
Mm.
And when she hears, you know your answer, just gets her.
Yes.
It just gets her. Just for the fun of it. And and elaborate on the dances. Have a little fun with it,
Okay.
like I'm gonna grab them out of the air. Okay, so I'm gonna say, okay, all right. Wooing, wedding, and repenting. It's a Scotch jig and a measure and a syncopace. And so, like setting it up like a joke, 3 dances, walk into a bar, have a little fun.
Okay.
And there's a part of me that's thinking that it'd be fun that she ends up with a syncopace faster and faster. And so she spins and actually ends up falling into a couch and then, getting up. I have a good eye, uncle, just a nice little beat before we get the revelers, but that's for the future. Anyway, so let's go. And I think the spice of it ends up being.
God, I love that little part of the not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Like that whole little, I had never taken that in before, that little speech there. Like that's just.
Clod of wayward moral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father. Again, it's Antonio. Sweet Antonio. Old-fashioned Antonio. And it's like, you'll be ruled by your father. Ugh. And just, say it. I don't think she's drunk. That's me just sort of playing with it, and we'd play with measures and see what would happen. But I love how it informed the first 2/3 of the scene. I loved it. Because you were moving, Juls, and you were starting to make different, like when you imitated Hero and you did a voice for the, the guy who sends, get thee to heaven, be it, that's what she is. She's a storyteller and she makes people laugh.
Yeah.
But sometimes she just goes too far. So let's try, actually, I want to go back up to, so deliver I my apes and away to St. Peter for the heavens. And I really want you to, even if you take a beat, just hear ruled by your father. And hope to see you fitted one day with a husband, whatever. And then your answer, which is Dad's answer, frankly. Because remember, we think that it's Don Pedro that's going to be a proposal.
Right.
So, okay, so let's try that chunk one more time. Okay. Yes.
Are we starting at Leonardo, you may light on a husband?
No, we want to do it, the end of your speech, the end of the Noba to the gate. And pick it up with the final sentence. So deliver I up my apes and away to St. Peter.
Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. And just really let it get under your skin. Let Juls, who may be feeling things about 2024 right now, get a little in there. Have a little fun.
Okay.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah.
When you're
Can you give me, well, then get you to hell? Go you into hell?
Okay. Well, then go you into hell.
No, but to the gate, and there will the devil meet me like an old cuckold with horns on his head and say, get you to heaven, Beatrice, get you to heaven. Here's no place for you maids. So deliver I up my apes and away to St. Peter for the heavens. He shows me where the bachelors sit, and there live we, merry as the day is long.
Well, niece, I trust you will be ruled by your father.
Yes, faith. It is my cousin's duty to make curtsy and say, Father, as it please you. But yet, for all that, cousin, let him be a handsome fellow, or else make another curtsy and say, Father, as it please me.
Well, niece, I hope to see you one day fitted with a husband.
Not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve? What's that?
Be a little lighter with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, and go.
Well, not till God make men of some other metal than earth. Would it not grieve a woman to be overmastered with a piece of valiant dust? To make an account of her life to a clod of wayward marl? No, uncle, I'll none. Adam's sons are my brethren, and I truly hold it a sin to match in my kindred.
Daughter, remember what I told you. If the prince to solicit you in that kind, you know your answer.
The fault will be in the music, cousin. If you be not wooed, the fault will be in the music, cousin, if you be not wooed in good time. If the prince be too important, tell him there is measure in everything, and so dance out the answer. For hear me, hero, wooing, wedding, and repenting is as a Scotch jig, a measure and a syncopace. The first suit is hot and hasty like a Scotch jig, and full as fantastical. The wedding, mannerly, modest, and modest as a measure. I'm going to start that again. The first suit is hot and hasty like a Scotch jig, and full as fantastical. The wedding, mannerly, modest as a measure, full of state and ancientry. And then comes repentance, and with his bad leg falls into the syncopace faster and faster until he sink into his grave.
Cousin, you apprehend passing shrewdly.
I have a good eye, uncle. I can see a church in daylight.
The revelers are at brava! Brava! It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun to like find, you're right, those rhythms, and it changes every time. And I think, again, going back to what we've talked about before, just like the play of it all and letting yourself get moved by the words and again, the sync pace of the speeches.
And it's just, and the deeper stuff we were talking about during the process, what came with, like, oh, you mentioned to me, Jules, in an email, which was really great. The idea of who was Beatrice before this play? Before the first time with Benedick. Yeah. Who was she? And how did she change after that? And so who is she right before this play? And there would be something really wonderful to mine in that. Because I think the colors that we can bring to these speeches and such, the awareness, the idea of when she sort of loses control of her own mind and she just starts going and everything. And then she's like, no, I got this. Okay, I get it. And then something goes off and she's like, you know what? It's just, she's so fast. Mm-hmm. She's just so fast in her thinking. And it must be exhausting on some level. Also, to know that at this point, really the only guy is Benedick for her. Because she would need somebody that extraordinary. Anybody else she would be settling for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And playing around in the relationship between her uncles and herself. Because they have, God, I hate to say it this way, allowed her to become this person in the court. And to sort of step beyond the mores and rules of what a woman possibly her age would serve as. She's not wearing a wimple, that kind of a thing. I see your nerdy mind racing over there, Kat. Do you want to add anything? Any ideas?
No, well, it just struck me, like, listening to you. I sort of love the idea, and get it. Because I think you're right. I know I don't like that word aloud either, but like there's clearly some joy and clearly affection in this family. And then I feel like, is it that thing where she's getting old enough, right, that now she has to joke about being a spinster. Yeah. Right? Like the stuff that was funny, 5 years ago, maybe now they're a little worried about will she have a home and will she find love? And I wonder about that as a contributing factor to what's shifted possibly for her.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's, it's that thing my whole life I was told she's one day going to become a butterfly. Of course, saying, well, she's kind of a worm in a shell right now. It's like, what? She's gonna blossom, and that's, guys, this was my favorite. You're the kind of girl that boys are gonna want to marry. Poor suckers. Yeah, so that never happened to me.
What does that even mean?
I know. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I
So,
wonder if there's like some guilt too that she has carried throughout her life of letting herself fall for Benedick after like having to kind of grow up with these men that she's maybe had felt like she's had to keep a shield up for or protect herself against and kind of be a different kind of woman coming up in order to have her own life and to have these freedoms and not fall into a position that she doesn't want to be in.
Right.
You know, and then to have to fall in love and something maybe that she's felt like is a weakness or a vulnerability rather.
It's that what do we get rid of the things that we think are, the things that people don't like about us. And we feel shame and embarrassment around. And they may be very valid feelings, but there's nobody saying that's actually valid.
Yeah.
There's also the possibility you could really raise the stakes and decide that Beatrice and Benedick actually slept together. And so the stakes of having lost your virginity to someone that you thought was going to be your guy, that's a big deal. And she hasn't told anybody that secret.
Yeah. I think the stakes have to be that high for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you develop. You become the funny person. You grow up in an angry household, you become the clown because then the clown can help take the tension out of the room. It's just those things that happen in life. That's just how we are made up, and it's a blessing in its own strange way. All right. On that
does
note,
something super sorry. That it occurs to me that does something super interesting to her response, again, upping the stakes for how angry she is about Hero. I mean, of course she would be in any circumstance, but if she actually slept with Benedick, right, and that's kind of her secret, and then her cousin, who again follows all the rules and is comporting herself in the way that you're supposed to comport yourself, doesn't protect her from this public shaming. That's so unfair.
I had never thought about that. That is brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're going to have some fun in a second. So, on that note, we're going to go to 4-1. All right, strap in, kids. Here we go. All right, 4-1. Okay. This is tricky because again, it's another one where we're dealing with it's a long scene. It's a very long scene. And there are a lot of long speeches in it. And so you have to, I think, find rhythms of fast, slow, high, low kind of thing. So, I mean, if we go with this idea that they slept together, and maybe you think you're alone in the church. Let's play this idea. And suddenly you hear his voice. And you turn and you see the very guy who set you on this path. That idea. So that's the deep stakes. Here's the tricky part. It's a comedy. And we've had some really high drama leading up to this. And also that could explain why she's silent for the most part during the accusation. Yeah, we've solved it. Anyway, so
Now it all makes sense.
oh my God. You have no reason to do it freely. Again, we're talking about the formal, right? You is the formal, correct? Yeah. So she's still formal with him, which could be part and parcel to what we're playing with. Surely I do believe your fair cousin is wronged. Yeah, may a man do it? It's a man's office, but not yours. And let's take a moment there. And this is where I think we can give the audience a little bit of a break by giving them a little bit of a giggle. Sometimes that's what you need. Also, it helps serve up where we're moving towards kill Claudia. It kind of builds up a surprise in a way, for those who don't know the play. And even it could work on the ones who do know it. So I would love, so take a beat, keep it loaded. Don't let the air out of it. Like, well, what do we do now? She's not going to tell me, oh, for fuck's sake, I love you. You know, just a kind of thing, and you're recovering, and let that hit you like, oh, awkward. Two awkward people, two people who never have been in this situation suddenly become like clumsy teenagers. Do you know what I mean? Let's make it feel as awkward as possible, but you're feeling it. You don't get quiet. You just, I don't know what to say. So I'm going to say all these things to you, and you know, be awkward in this section. And with Beatrice, strangest thing I know not, it were possible to really get knotted up in that. And Benedick finds his feet a little bit better, a little bit more directly, because he started this, and it should be a challenge, a real challenge. I know you love me, you know. And then we go back to, we swear and eat, I would swear they love me, with we and I eat your word with no sauce that can be devised. And let's say that this whole eating of words is a Beatrice thing. You know what I mean? So we're going to do it, and he plays along with the eating it thing and helps serve up the jokes moving forward with, you know, with no sauce that can be devised to it. Do you know, and then he's getting more confident, and they're getting happier. Be happier as this is going forward. You've saved me in a happy hour. I was about to protest. I loved you. I do it with all my heart. And just let it happen. And be really happy. And not happy because now you got somebody who'll do the deed. This is the tricky thing about it. If you go, when he says, come bid me do anything for you, you drop to kill Claudia, it'll somehow suggest on some level that the whole time she's been thinking about this, and she might be luring him into this. And that's not it at all. Try doing it like you're excited about it. Oh, this is great. You got to go sell the house. like let it be that. And so it's even more of a smack in the face when he said, you crazy? Now we're back to something in feelings, and I'm not feeling things. And then I want to be careful, Juls. I know we're still working out, but don't overlap her. Let her overlap you.
Right.
So wait for the end of her line before you speak, and she'll jump over on you.
Yeah.
But I think you know that. So, and I just find those dark jokes in there. You know, when you're being darkly funny in an inappropriate moment, and you just serve it. Find those moments too. And it's not necessarily for his benefit. Maybe it's for God's benefit. Whomever you're going to be, what do you call it? Apostrophizing to. I think that's the word for it when you talk to the gods, you know, Galba pays you fiery for its deeds. Yeah, so do that. Let's go to the top. Okay. If you need a second. So let me see. I'm getting to the top of the scene. I've given you a lot. Breathe. Have fun. Play. Go for it.
Lady Beatrice, have you wept all this while?
Yay. And I will weep a while longer.
I will not desire that.
You have no reason. I do it freely.
Surely I do believe your fair cousin is wronged.
Ah, how much might the man deserve of me that would right her?
Is there any way to show such friendship?
A very even way, that no such friend?
May a man do it?
It is a man's office. But not yours.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. Is not that strange?
As strange as the thing I know not. It were as possible for me to say I loved nothing so well as you. But believe me not, and yet I lie not. I confess nothing, nor I deny nothing. I am sorry for my cousin.
By my sword, Beatrice, thou lovest me.
Do not swear and eat it.
I will swear by it that you love me, and I will make him eat it that says I love not you.
Will you not eat your word?
With no sauce that can be devised to it, I protest I love thee.
Why then, God forgive me.
What offense, sweet Beatrice.
You have stayed me in a happy hour. I was about to protest I loved you.
And do it with all thy heart.
I love you with so much of my heart that none is left to protest.
Come, bid me do anything for thee.
Kill Claudio.
Not for the wide world.
You kill me to deny it. Farewell.
Terry, sweet Beatrice.
I am gone, though I am here. There is no love in you. Nay, I pray you, let me go.
Beatrice.
In faith, I will go.
We'll be friends first.
You dare easier be friends with me than fight with mine enemy.
Is Claudio thine enemy?
Is he not approved in the height of villain that hath slandered, scorned, dishonored my kinswoman? Oh, that I were a man. What? Bear her in hand until they come to take hands, and then, with public accusation, uncovered slander, unmitigated rancor. Oh, God, that I were a man, I would eat his heart in the marketplace.
Hear me, sweet Beatrice.
Talk with a man out at a window, a proper saying.
Nay, but Beatrice.
Sweet hero, she is wronged. She is slandered. She is undone.
Beatrice.
Princes and counties, surely a princely testimony, a goodly count confect, a sweet gallant, surely, oh, that I were a man for his sake, or that I had any friend would be a man for my sake. But manhood is melted into curtsies, valor into compliment, and men are only turned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing, therefore I will die a woman with grieving.
Very good, Beatrice. By this hand, I love thee.
Use it for my love some other way than swearing by it.
Think you in your soul the Count Claudio hath wronged hero?
Yea, as sure as I have a thought or a soul.
Enough. I am engaged. I will challenge him. I will kiss your hand, and so I leave you. By this hand, Claudio shall render me a dear account. As you hear me, so think of me. Go comfort your cousin. I must say she is dead, and so farewell. Oh my God, that was wonderful. I loved it. Did you guys feel it? What did it feel like to play with those waves?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, there were definitely moments where I was like, where are we now? What are we doing now? Where I was a little like, but yeah. And then you'd get back on the ride and be like, this is fun.
You know, it's somebody, Bob Krakauer, film director and or teacher, great teacher, said in class one day, he said, people don't transition in real life in terms of thinking. And every actor's like, no, how am I going to make this transition? He says, we don't. We jump. We have a million thoughts in a second. And this is one of those tricky scenes. And you have to trust it. It's like looking at Juliet and Romeo and Juliet. She twists and turns and twists and turns and twists and turns. And the ones that do that, they're either comic or they're young. Or they're crazy. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, well, you know, I was just talking to him the other day and then he sent me a TikTok. Oh, there's this one TikTok that you have to see because it's funny. But he was talking to me you know, it's like, this is who we are as human beings. It was a great Benedick, Juls. Really, really well done. And I liked your awkwardness a lot.
In my notes, I put puppy dog. After she reveals, I'm like, golden retriever puppy dog.
Exactly. If she ever sees this, she'll kill me. But the first time I met my now nephew-in-law, he was, you know, awkwardly staying with me a few hours before my niece was to show up because she was flying in. And the moment she came in through the door, swear to God, it was like a Labrador with his tail just wagging like, Gracie's here, Gracie's here. I just was like, this guy is smitten.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was there for it. Just loved it. So exciting. Okay. So I want to go back a little bit, and see if we can jump in. Try. I think I'm going to start with the,
Can I say something too? It's really interesting because I minimized my screen, so I put everybody at the top by my little green light. And so before I can't see you, Shannon, before I say my first line, and I can see Erika still. But as soon as I say that, Erika goes away and it reveals you, and I reveals your tears for the first time. So I can't see anything until I see your tears, and it is like a little shock to me. So I just wanted to share that was actually happening. And so I have been, and it is jarring just to see that drop down in you. So I appreciate your work. It's really
surprise.
Cool. Yeah, surprise.
Erika, get the fuck off the screen.
Right? I guess it would be fun to stage this in a way where like Beatrice is facing away.
Yeah.
And you're like, is she weeping? Have you been weeping? And then it's like, oh yeah, you definitely have. Okay. A mess.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be, I even was playing with a whole Lotsie with handing her a tissue of some kind. You know,
Yeah.
we got a hanky. Pulls off his glove, maybe give it to her.
He keeps it in his hat. He has a hat on because they just came from a wedding.
We could have fun. We could totally have fun. Or he picks up the end of her dress and hands it to her. I don't know. Or she does. She sees it just over fuck's sake, and blows her nose on the hem of her skirt. Okay. Would it be possible? I'll give you some notes in a second. Do you think to start it from I do love nothing in the world so well as you is not that strange? Because then we jump into the awkwardness, which is great. But I love everything you do, but I put some more quotation marks a little bit around the first time you pick up eat. I will swear, Juls, that I will swear by it that you love me and I will make him eat it. This is your thing. I'm going to ring that eat bell.
Oh, I'm playing with you. Back. Yeah. We're playing
with your joke, your thing. And then that gives you a chance to bat it back. It's like he's being nice to the scared kitten. And here, I know your toy. You know, in a fun kind of awkward teenage way. All due respect to teenagers. Okay. Then God forgive me, what offense to you, you've saved me a happy hours, but just I loved you. And you know, she could still be covering with that humor because it's a little bit harder for her because he really hurt her. But she's got, this is happening, you know. You've saved me in a happy hour. I was about to pretend. There is humor in that. Yeah, I was going to do that too. Yeah. It's like, you know, yeah, I'm not going to get into anyway. I have so many voices. And do it with all thy heart. I love you with so much of my heart that none is left. That's so fantastic. Take a beat to take that in before you say,
Okay.
I'll do it. Oh, and it was perfect, Shannon, that it was just like, great, kill him. You know? And I love, Jules, that you took it and you kind of went, ha, ha, ha. And you can even hold that a little bit more. Did you just say what I think you just said?
Yeah.
And I would invite you, Shannon, to not immediately go to disappointment, but to go to a feeling like, now I'm back to this. Well, what the fuck do I do? I'm back to where I was. You know, Terry,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gone. This is, you know, in that crushing life moment that you hit, you know, there is no love in you. Nay, I pray you let me go. And maybe trying to get around him or something. And, you know, it's Beatrice, in faith, I will go. It's a stab to get her to stop. Let's be friends. What? You know, like, and I think you can just give it to when you hear that. This is, you want to shift to what we just had, this wonderful moment. And then all of a sudden you're okay with us. Well, let's just go back and let's be friends. That's so easy to you. We're talking about feelings, we're talking about emotions and everything like that. And you can just do it like that, but you won't go kill him. You know, it's Claudia, thine enemy. Make your case. You're not yet railing at the heavens. You know, he did this shit. And I think try with the, oh, I were a man, just let the O be anything. It's a lack of knowing what to say. And wouldn't it be funny if I were a man? Give it something here that's different than the next time you say it. And the next time you say it, you really fucking mean it. You know what I mean? These are the moments that it's all coming out. And then he did this and he did this and he did this. And again, the O's could be a scream. They could be anything you want. I would eat his heart in the marketplace because that's the launch into this. So I would ask you, Jules, even though I know you're not working on Benedick as necessarily, what would he say to her if he could get her to shut up?
Just sit down.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he's going to say.
Come here. Yeah, I love you. Let's just stop for a moment. Let's just talk.
Yeah, breathe.
Yeah. God forbid I tell her to breathe. But
just don't tell her to smile.
Just smile. It's fine. It's okay.
And then
I kind of go back to like that puppy image, like it in those first few lines, it kind of feels like she smacked him on the nose and the puppy's stunned, and it's kind of like, no, well, no, be friends first. It's fine. Let's just chill. Let's make it chill. It doesn't have to be all love. It's
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Yeah. Yeah. And then into princes and counties, and that last one, oh, that I were a man for his sake. It's almost like the cursing that we do in Shakespeare. You know, Richard Easton used to do it. He goes, may you never. He said, it's the only time you should point on stage when you're cursing someone. And he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Or that I had
So when cursing, point.
point when cursing, and he would do it with his, he would like, or that I had a friend who would be a man for my sake. Really give it to him. Just, and then mock. Throw a little mocking into the next thing about melted into curtsies and blah 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 blah. And maybe try, I'm throwing so much at you. He's now as valiant as Hercules, whatever, that's a realization. Oh my God. People are toasting him in bars right now. And then because there is a switch, there's got to be a shift somewhere in there, because she ends with, I will die a woman with grieving. And I think that's when the disappointment, the weight, and everything can hit her.
Yeah.
And it's a last ditch effort with use it for my love, you know. And then there's that glimmer. There's something in that moment at the end of that speech that makes Benedick grow up and say, oh shit, I really love this woman. And what's the same way it's scary for her to say, I love you. It's scary for him to do this, because he's not the hero on the battlefield. He's the jester. So that's why he asks, are you sure? And, you know, but I love you.
What did we say? What was the symbol for the hand, by this hand? Again, because I feel like we found that in this last one, this last go around. By this hand, I love thee. And she says hand, by this hand, da da da.
You mean in a previous thing, or the way, by this hand, I love thee?
I think last week we were talking about just what hand meant. Did we? Was that just me?
Is it not his hand?
It's his hand.
Yeah, by this hand.
Wait, I think we talked about her, you know, the possibility. Maybe we talked about this, her grabbing it, or just the idea of maybe for your own self, the swearing and that kind of thing, because he says hand again, but it's her hand. So it's by this hand, and then he kisses her hand. So I don't know.
Got it.
Probably,
okay.
You know, maybe later. So let's go back to the awkward Labrador teenagers. I do love nothing in the world so well as you. So this is really awkward, and she's crying and all this kind of stuff. So take your time and do your brilliance.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. Is not that strange?
As strange as the thing I know not. It were as possible for me to say I love nothing so well as you. But believe me not, and yet I lie not. I confess nothing, nor I deny nothing. I am sorry for my cousin.
By my sword, Beatrice, thou lovest me.
Do not swear and eat it.
I will swear by it that you love me, and I will make him eat it that says I love not you.
Will you not eat your word?
With no sauce that can be devised to it. I protest.
I'm gonna stop you.
Yeah.
I want you to make sure you play up the eat.
Okay. Yes.
The quotes around eat.
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the same place. Okay. I won't interrupt.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. Is not that strange?
As strange as the thing I know not. It were as possible for me to say I loved nothing so well as you. But believe me not, and yet I lie not. I confess nothing, nor I deny nothing. I am sorry for my cousin.
By my sword, Beatrice, thou lovest me.
Do not swear and eat it.
I will swear by it that you love me, and I will make him eat it that says I love not you.
Will you not eat your word?
With no sauce that can be devised to it, I protest I love thee.
Hey, then, God forgive me.
What a fed, sweet Beatrice.
You have stayed me in a happy hour. I was about to protest I loved you.
And do it with all thy heart.
I love you with so much of my heart that none is left to protest.
Bid me do anything for thee.
Kill Claudio.
Not for the wide world.
You kill me to deny it. Farewell.
Very sweet Beatrice.
I am gone, though I am here. There is no love in you. Nay, I pray you, let me go.
Beatrice.
In faith, I will go.
We'll be friends first.
You dare easier be friends with me than fight with mine enemy.
Is Claudio thine enemy?
Is he not approved in the height of villain that hath slandered, scorned, dishonored my kinswoman? That I were a man. What? Bear her in hand until they come to take hands, and then with public accusation, uncovered slander, unmitigated rancor. Oh, God, that I were a man. I would eat his heart in the marketplace.
Hear me, Beatrice.
With a man out at a window, a proper saying.
Nay, but Beatrice.
Sweet hero, she is wronged. She is slandered. She's undone.
Beatrice.
Princes and counties. Surely a princely testimony, a goodly count, Count Comfect, a sweet gallant, surely. Oh, that I were a man for his sake, or that I had any friend would be a man for my sake. But manhood is melted into curtsies, valor into compliment, and men are only turned into tongue, and trim ones too. He is now as valiant as Hercules, that only tells a lie and swears it. I cannot be a man with wishing. Therefore I will die a woman with grieving.
Harry, good Beatrice. By this hand I love thee.
Use it for my love some other way than swearing by it.
Think you in your soul that Count Claudio hath wronged hero?
Yea, as sure as I have a thought or a soul.
Enough. I am engaged. I will challenge him. I will kiss your hand, and so I leave you. By this hand Claudio shall render me a dear account. As you hear of me, so think of me. Go comfort your cousin. I must say she is dead. And so farewell.
Nice! The sun is going down and I am losing the light in this room. Change my blinds.
There we go. Ooh.
Light again.
Really nicely done, ladies. New colors. Ooh, cha. So we could also keep playing, but I think at this point, Nathan, are there any questions? Are you out there? Oh, Nathan.
Oh my God, the time. Wow, that flew by.
Didn't it?
Yeah, no, it was great. And I was just wondering, I was curious to launch into the questions.
Sure.
How you know, if we were say just working on this last scene between Beatrice and Benedick, you know, there'd be lots of discussion of what's going on and what's come, you know, before and what might be happening here and motivations and all that. But I'm curious, particularly for Shannon and Juls, you know, who can speak to this a little bit. What was it like having the experience of the earlier scenes and all the discussion of really kind of getting into the trenches of what's going on in those earlier scenes? How did that help inform or give you ideas of what to do in this scene? I know it's a big question.
I mean, I love that we have this long history that gets demonstrated in the earlier scenes of just how quick they are to throw barbs at each other. And so how challenging it is not to do that if that's your MO with someone, or has become your MO with someone. And I feel like it definitely informs, I mean, the entire idea of their history informs this, will you not eat your word? Because that's kind of what you did before. And then the send up of men, because he is a man who uses his tongue, right? He's like tripping along with all his little sayings, and that's, you know, that's the manhood that she is, in addition to Claudio's, obviously, because he's got this valorous thing, but she's, you know, she knows how to undercut Benedick. How well they know how to undercut each other, but not always to support each other, I guess. They're learning how to support each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's great. Jules.
I love that. That's it. It's so true because the relationship has changed in this scene. Their dynamic has changed in this scene, the way they relate to each other, the language that they're using with each other. But there's still that banter, that beautiful banter between them, and that fire, but the fire has changed more into passion and love and care and compassion and caring for each other rather than putting up your dukes. And I think that's such a lovely like way to put it, because they are now using love language rather than fighting. And I think it's interesting too, like just to, yeah, I don't know. I had something else, but that's it. Yeah. I think the way that they relate to each other, and I think that's what's great in all of these plays, is to see those relationships change from the beginning to the end, and specifically with Beatrice and Benedick, and how they actually start to grow stronger together and to use that history. And it's oh, that's what I was going to say. There's almost this relief between them, right? There's almost this kind of like, oh, now I can say I love you, because I think that was the feeling this resistance that I've been feeling this entire time.
I think it's very interesting also. It really struck me the last couple of times how when she says, you know, but it turned into courtesies and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the scene, it's exactly what he does. He's into the courtesies and the manner and the formality of, I've accepted this challenge. And so there's sort of there's nothing to be done about it. It just, it's there for its own sake. But yeah. I have something else to add, but it can be added later. I want to hear if there's any more questions.
Well, I wanted to turn that one to you, Erika. What was it like to direct this role over the course of the play, having the experience of being able to work on all these different scenes, and you're not, you know, solely focused on one scene? Did it and having played the role, did anything surprise you about Beatrice or unlock anything by going back to by just investigating all these different scenes rather than just focusing on one?
I would be really keen to play it again. And there are those moments where you discover and you go, oh, why didn't I do that before? You know, it's like, shit, missed opportunity. But it's, you know, the wide variety of who Beatrice is she could be played, I'm still convinced, at any age, really. And in each sort of like age level, it would bring a different information with it. And it would be so much fun. I mean, so I think now at that 56 years old, I would be a very different Beatrice, you know.
I'm really sorry, Erika. The audio cut out, but that's okay. We'll just move on.
Yeah, I think I hit the mute button, you know, but yeah, she's one I cherish in my heart.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know, just to speak to that idea of why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's you know, if only you had 4 or 5 other people helping you on a role, on a production, then you might, you know, might feel like, okay, I got like 95% of what was there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're all lucky if we, you know, get to spend 25 minutes talking with the director about a particular scene or passage. And maybe there's a dramaturg who gets, you know, a few minutes here and there. So yeah, it's
Time
you know,
too.
yeah.
It would be so great to have like 2 weeks to sit at a table and just
Right.
bounce around a bunch of ideas and not feel obligated as well to what you brought into the audition room.
Right.
Because it feels like when you go in and you know, you give this performance to whatever degree in the audition room, and there's just no time to have facility in a rehearsal room to have the facility of exploring different choices.
Right.
You wouldn't be obligated to what you first came in with. So
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's really, yeah, and some companies do this, but it's working via collaboration of what do you think? What, you know, what do we all think of is going on here? And that's where, you know, you can get a lot of great ideas. You can try stuff out, see what works and what doesn't, or what flavors or colors you like. Um, Kat, I would love to hear from the dramaturgical perspective. Were there particular favorite moments you had, you know, investigating the role over the course of the play, or things that you really enjoyed researching that you maybe hadn't found in prior experiences with the play?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think to me, it's sort of a lot of what you're saying is really what I love about dramaturgy, which is I can go in and I can feel like if it's a play I know well, if it's a part I know well, if it's something I've watched actors work on before, I can feel pretty confident, right? Like I know where we're going to go here. But luckily I try not to walk into a rehearsal hall with that attitude, because I feel like it's always different and it always changes. And I think there really is something to that collaborative spirit. You know, I've had so many different experiences of working on the same play, you know, and of course certain things are the same all the time, or I shouldn't say the same. There's something fundamental, right, about this attraction between Benedick and Beatrice, but what it looks like and how it plays out, it's, you know, there is many possibilities that there are actors. So I really love that. It just feels like something that's, you know, alive rather than something that's sort of stagnant, right? There's not one way to do it, but again, there are those moments that organically kind of come together and depends on who's on stage. But I also love the questions you're asking about, like wanting to come back and do the role again. I feel like so many of my conversations with my actor friends who've played these really phenomenal parts, like they never ever feel like they're done with the part, right? Like you want to do it 15 more times, and there's so much there, which is such a lovely thing, and I feel like is such a remarkable quality about Shakespeare, right? There's something in there that never changes, that's fundamental, but so many different shades you can play with, really.
I think
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Jules.
I love these roles because they are so iconic, right? And we as actors, directors, as artists, as dramaturgs, we look at them and we have this idea of what they should be, and then we start to, you know, mine the text and realize, you know, they are humans that change over time just as we are. And I think that being able and having the privilege of playing a role at different points in your life, things about yourself start to reveal themselves to you. And so as it is in the text, you start to see things in that different perspective. And as Erika likes to say, they lift out of the text and kind of start to find their way into your body, into your soul, into your mind in a different way, and kind of morph. I love that idea. So I think in that, I think it's really important to trust yourself at whatever point you are in your life for these roles, and not to think that you have to fit the role, but let the role fit you.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And, I would offer, Erika, when you're talking about, wishing you figured out more, I mean, I would guess that there were things that just at the time in your life that you were when you played these roles, just you missed things. Things went over your head like you did, but with more life experience, something lands in a different way that you're like, oh, of course, now with this life experience, that makes total sense. And as, a 25-year-old or a 35-year-old, I just would not have read it the same way. I would not have understood it. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I mean, because I think the interesting thing, the idea of an older Beatrice and Benedick, is that they're going to be more set in their ways.
Sure.
A longer time being alone, a longer time becoming this person is harder than to break the shell. And where you could find those moments, you'd have to, I don't know, it was a little bit like when I got to work on Juliet. Very different Juliet than what I would have done had I actually been right age-wise.
Sure.
And it was a lot more fun to play actually this age. Because there was a lot more to mine. I found a lot more, which is sort of ironic since she's a 14-year-old and I'm finding what I feel is more authentically her at 6 years old. So, again, that damn Zoom. Oh, no.
Yeah. And as an audience member, I remember your Juliet, and it had a similar quality to, we had another actor, Jamie Newcomb, who played Silvius in his 20s, and then he came back and did it like, I don't know, 30 or 40 years later. And even though Silvius is meant to be this, kind of dopey kid, it is enormously hilarious and touching and moving when you see somebody much older in life, because they can connect with those emotions. They really know what's going on. They can allow themselves to be that vulnerable. So whether it's Juliet or Silvius or another part, you have that capacity to go into those moments, to kind of be big as you need to. It is really exciting to see actors take on parts that they quote unquote might not be right for age-wise, because I think they do bring something that you just can't. I mean, it's why Ian McKellen was playing Hamlet. It's just like there's, whether or not you think the production works as a whole, it's just like he's going to have a different life experience than somebody who's 22. I was thinking about this earlier. It goes along with what you're saying, that if people get married right out of high school, then they haven't had a lot of time to be set in their ways. There's going to be there's going to be a lot more years where they have to figure things out as they're figuring out themselves. It's just going to be a different challenge than if they're, 40 when they get married, or if they have a kid. You think about young parents, and it's like, well, they hadn't had a life, to really, that evaporates when they have a child. But if they're, 35 or 40, they've been on their own. They've been doing their own thing, and now there's this whole new dynamic. So yeah, I mean, it's that will they, won't they dynamic that's very exciting to see. And as Kat mentioned, like, it's ubiquitous. We see it in movies and literature and TV and everything of these two characters that at first, oh well, they're not gonna work, but that's what we want to see. There's something, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if it's primal or something. We just gravitate towards those stories. We want to see people come together, I guess. I was curious, now that you guys have done all this work, and Erika, you mentioned earlier the kind of literary version or bookish version of Beatrice in your head. From anyone here, where would you want to see Beatrice go? Are there other ideas that any of you have had of like, I'd really love to see this kind of a Beatrice? And it doesn't have to be, you know, a specific role in a specific time or place, though if you have that, that's fine. But just the kinds of qualities or characteristics from doing all this work that you're like, you know, I don't know if I've really seen this part of her brought out, and I'd like to see this more, or I'd like to investigate this further. Anything come to mind from anyone?
Well, I guess to me, the idea of her being the fool in Leonardo's house, I would love to see what someone does with that. You know, I don't need the whole like fool's outfit with the,
Sure.
but like what elements of that could she choose to draw on and might be peppered in some way where her moments are clearly also like, this is the entertainment. This is the entertainment that we get in our house out here. You know, because there's just so much that we forget about the fact that like these people needed to entertain themselves. They didn't have anything that they could sit there. So she is probably a huge source of that. And maybe, you know, there's this whole thing, and it becomes much more a thing in like Austen, right? Jane Austen, of like the woman who you better play an instrument or sing or something, because when you're at the country house, what are you going to be doing? Oh, you're going to play music for people or somehow be entertaining. Like women should entertain, and Beatrice is doing it in a strange fashion. She's not the, oh, I know how to sing a song, but like maybe she's like, well, you know, this is my special talent. So how maybe to fold that into like the dynamic and how certain moments are treated on stage would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you could certainly read that there's definitely a performative side of Beatrice, that I mean, and depending on the production, they could decide like that David Tennant a production where it was kind of more of an intimate opening scene. But you know, you could argue that she is doing this for others, you know, like, you know, this tete-a-tete with Benedick or another section. So, right, yeah, well, I think it'd be fun to kind of investigate, well, like the Fool, who's, you know, doing it to entertain and kind of having a show, a one-person show. How does what elements does Beatrice take of that? Yeah, that's great. Any other thoughts of where you'd go with Beatrice, where you'd want to see?
Well, I will credit was when I did Helena in Midsummer the second time, the Demetrius that we had was just a wonderful choice, because everybody usually makes him the dude, you know, the athlete, and he made him a nerd at the beginning. And he's like, you know, sweet Hermia, why won't you, you know, and it was hilarious. And then when the fairies went to put the bug juice in his eyes, they did a whole Lotzie on the fuck, getting the glasses off and looking at each other and things like that. And they put it on, and then they put it back on his face, and he did a Clark Kent kind of thing when he wakes up. And it worked beautifully, and nobody went the way. So the idea of like her being a nerd, she could also be a Clark Kent kind of thing, where she's got the glasses and she's this kind of a thing, and, you know, ha ha ha. And then when she finds out he loves her, just finding moments of like, I don't know how to be a girl, you know, you know, because in that sort of experimentation, then she discovers in this emotional sort of scene with Benedick, maybe she comes to a place where she really finds her true self.
I just thought of a terrible idea.
Yeah.
She chucks her glasses in that scene where she comes in before the wedding and they all think she's crying. She can't see anything anymore.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, or
It's not that she's tired, it's that she can't see.
Yeah, and she's, you know, and he scares her, you know, have you wept all, you know, she stuffed the glasses somewhere. Oh God, you know, it's pretty much you could do anything.
Or even like trying to put on heels, like she's never worn heels before,
Right.
and like and the whole thing with wobbling in heels and like
Lena, what's her face? That was so painful at that award ceremony, which is like, oh no, Lena. Oh, who created Girls? I can't think of her last name.
Oh,
Anyway.
Lena Dunham.
Yeah. Oh, girl, I would have been like, you're in a gown, wear tennis shoes. No one's gonna scare
And maybe in the church she has a broken heel or something like that that's like on the floor or something next to her, and just she's futzing with her heels. I love
This
that.
is great. This is great. I hope producers and theaters are listening out there. You know, we got your next production. But yeah, there is that trope, and I kind of thought of the movie "It's a Wonderful Life," where George goes back and finds Mary, and she's very bookish and very, very tight, so there is that kind of trope of like this woman that this librarian, bookish kind of woman that isn't really in touch with her feelings, and over the course of the play, she just realizes, well, wait a second, there's a whole life going on in me that I hadn't really been in touch with until, I have this opportunity to, bring it out and, discover that this person loves me, and what does that reveal in me? It would be interesting because I think it's not a trap, but I think it's very in the play that Beatrice has a lot of emotion from the get-go. Like she's very not just demonstrative, but I think she's very in touch. She can be very in touch with herself of what she's feeling. She may not think she has feelings for Benedick, but I think she's very strong in her feelings. So it'd be interesting to see that kind of journey of someone that is, maybe has more of a tighter hold on their emotions.
Yeah.
From,
Uh-oh, you're breaking up.
know.
Oh, no.
So you
Losing.
oh, was I breaking up?
Froze for a second. Yeah.
I froze for a second. So I don't know where I froze in there, but it would be interesting to see, I think, that journey of somebody going from not being as in touch with their emotions to, that unraveling over the course of the play.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just walking the fine line and letting those like defense mechanisms kind of like rule her life a little bit more in the beginning, and then being hit and finding out maybe that Benedick does love her. And I think too, the relationship with Hero, she's impacted by that too. I think that allowing Hero's vulnerability and Hero's just unbridled passion and this ability to love so easily hit her. I think that allowing that relationship too to kind of start to break down her defenses, because I think, it's such an important relationship and maybe goes missed more often than not. And if you have a good hero, I think that's everything. It just
Very hard for the heroes because they they aren't given a lot of language, right, Shannon? They're just not. And it's like I always thought of Beatrice, and I would imagine it would really play even bigger as she gets older. The actress is older, that she has an opportunity in Hero to drive home these things that maybe Hero doesn't naturally feel or think.
Right.
Thank you for upstaging me. That's Oliver. But yeah, it's oh God, I just love this role. I just wanted to say before we end, I don't even know if it's in print still, but there is a book called Clamorous Voices, and it was published in 1988, and it is a conversation with 5 Royal Shakespearean actresses who we all pretty much know now: Fiona Shaw, Harriet Walter, Juliet Stevenson, Paula Dionissoti, and Sinead Cusack. And they take a period of 10 years of the roles that they played at the RSC, and they discuss them. And one of the things that was brought to the fore, because people couldn't, I think you can't help, but the whole dynamic of men and rules and what aren't fair and that what isn't fair, the audience is going to come in naturally with the context that they know. And Palin Dionissoti played a very famous Kate to Jonathan Pryce's Petruchio. And at the end of the 10-year period, Fiona Shaw, which I got to see, Fiona Shaw and Brian Cox played it. And they had a very different take on it. And they talk about how you bring into the room, you can't help but bring into the room the dynamic of what's happening in the rehearsal hall as well. the time period that you're actually living in the day. And they talked about how with like Kate, you know, there's only like two other women in the play, the widow and Bianca, and they don't like her. The room, it's mostly men in the room. Stage management at that time was primarily male. And Pamela Diodasotti went to the opening night of the Brian Cox Fiona Shaw, and she said the moment she opened her mouth, I almost burst into tears because I could just hear that stress come in. So it would be very interesting also, like from a directing point of view, to really consider that, whether you could actually do something, but it could come into play in a really awesome way, because then you also get at the end of the play, the moment he kisses her, she doesn't say another word, which is interesting. It's a little bit like playing Kate. You can't do that speech with your tongue in cheek. The whole thing about I hold out my hand for my husband's foot.
Yeah.
But I will say that production, it worked.
Mm.
When I have time for me to tell you about it, I'll email you. Sorry, audience. But find that book, because it's great. They talk about Shakespearean women and things like that. And if you can't, let me know, and don't tell anybody, but maybe I'll copy it for you.
That's great. Thank you for the book recommendation. I'll be sure to include that in the notes, and it looks like Kat found it. So we can put that link in there for people. As we're getting close to wrapping up, any final thoughts people want to share about Beatrice, discoveries, surprises, challenges, anything else?
I love her. That's
This
it.
was a joy. I like this, base it around one character. So let's do Kate next.
Yes.
She's tough. That's a tough one.
Yes. I'm in.
Beatrice as the childless cat lady.
Part 2. Yes.
Yes, it's 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
This is what they say is, for the smart, savvy actor, you figure out roles that, are right for you. So, you create your own content. So there you go. Beatrice as the childless cat lady. That she could have her own web series. There we go, Erika.
Oh.
You don't even have to leave your apartment.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Maybe she married Benedick. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're separated, divorced. Maybe they have a couple kids.
Benedick
I
was
don't know.
always a cat.
Maybe he was always a cat. There's many opportunities.
He lives in the pool house behind the house.
There you go. He claimed to be a dog guy, said he had allergies to cats, but
No.
he actually
He moved in, and then in the first week it was like, wait, you don't like cats? Okay, this isn't gonna work.
This isn't gonna work.
Bye.
Well, I do want to say thank you all so much for your work over this past month, and to Anu. I wish you could have been here tonight. For those watching, check out the early weeks. You see all the work that led up to this week, and there's no way we can recap nearly 8 hours of discussions. It was just fantastic, but. This was just a great group, and I'm so thrilled that all of you enjoyed working on Beatrice. For those watching, subscribe, tell your friends, hit that like button, check us out on Patreon if you want to support this and see, what else we can do. And I'm always open to feedback. If you think there's play or scene or a role or something else we can do with this that would aid you, whether you're an actor, a theater lover, educator, we want this to be as useful to as many people as possible. And I think just if you, even in general, like going to theater, I think these sessions are so wonderful, because I think it just gives you such a deeper appreciation for the play that you hopefully will see, in a deeper understanding. So, and as Kat mentioned, this is a play that is done all the time. I mean, I'm sure, and every year there's at least probably 10 to 20 productions happening anywhere. So there's probably one near you, if not this summer, another time of year. So, but that is it. Thank you all again so much for being part of it. We'll kind of close out the public portion here, and we'll see you another time in the rehearsal room. So thanks again, everybody.
Grateful to you, Nathan. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Brava.